Criminal prosecution and crime prevention may seem to be at opposite ends of the spectrum, but the Norfolk Commonwealth's Attorney's Office offers an easy access location in Berkeley where prosecutors, related partners, and concerned citizens can meet for information, guidance, and referral. Kristen Fulton is Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney, and Assistant Director, or rather Madeline Bright, is a paralegal, and they both join us to discuss the significance of the Community Collaboration Center, which is a big name for something that's very significant to people who live in our community as well as the people in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. So what is it, Kristen?
Well, it's sort of like what you said in the beginning, Jan, that criminal prosecution and crime prevention kind of traditionally are thought of as two separate things. We usually think of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office as an office that waits for crimes to happen and works proactively and then prosecutes people after a crime has happened. What Greg Underwood, the Commonwealth Attorney, has decided to do with the Community Collaboration Center is to work proactively. So we work more in crime prevention. So we have the Community Collaboration Center, which is in the Berkeley neighborhood, and our intention there is to do outreach, prevention work, and education. And people can come into our office anytime they want from the community if they have legal questions, whether they're criminal or civil. We can't actually represent them, but we do help them get answers to their questions, and we don't charge anything. So we can help them figure out their way through the legal system, and if they need help, then we can refer them to a place that might help them get actual legal advice. We also do a lot of outreach work, and we do a lot of presentations to civic leagues, a lot of community organizations, to schools and kids. And I'm going to let Marlene, who does a lot of our presentations, tell you a little bit about what kind of presentations we do.
Okay, great. So reaching out to the community instead of having the community search for you. I'm not saying that that always happened, but you recognized a need. It was really important. So what does it, what do you do in terms of outreach?
In terms of outreach, a big component of what I do is presentations. And a lot of times that's the basis of educating our community, whether it's young people, old people, anybody in the members of the community that need the information so that they are aware of what it means in bullying, cyberbullying, sexting for kids. We also do truancy and curfews. I do presentations on Virginia rules that's in the schools or in the recreation center, after school programs. And so it is a great opportunity for us to be proactive about teaching them about crime prevention, because they also get the legal consequences of all of those subject topics.
I don't want to throw you a curve here, but I have to know, is there any particular area or topic that seems to be requested more often?
Oh yes, bullying and cyberbullying and sexting.
All right.
Yes.
Very, very currently in the spotlight for a lot of reasons, apparently. Yes. So this is good for people to know. If you want a presentation, then you need to contact the Collaboration Center and see about somebody coming out to where you are.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the after-school programs are after school. So we will accommodate whatever scheduling, whatever organization wants to request us, we will accommodate for that.
Great, and we have a number up on the screen you can call, and certainly you can go onto the website, the Commonwealth Attorney's webpage, and there's information there about the Community Collaboration Center team and where you can go, and the address in Berkeley if you want to go in there, which brings me to, if you wanted to go to this Collaboration Center, do you need an appointment?
No, you do not need an appointment. It's walk-in.
Okay.
And we will just, visit with you and talk with you and see what your needs are.
Okay, great. So you can really help direct people. And
Absolutely.
The whole idea of public safety needs, can you define that? I know that you mentioned some of the presentations you do, but is there more to public safety needs than those things you have mentioned?
I think that traditionally what people have thought of when they think about crime and they think about public safety, they think about the big crimes like robberies and homicides and things like that, and those are extremely important. But a lot of people who are living in a neighborhood, maybe they think that the kids who are cutting school and are vandalizing their neighborhood or, you know, some of the things that we might as a society deem as smaller crimes are actually very important to individual citizens, and those are public safety concerns. And so when someone doesn't necessarily want to call the police, because they might want to just speak to someone about how can they take care of this, or let someone know that there's a concern in their neighborhood, we're happy for them to call. We're happy for them to stop by our office anytime they want to, and we'll get in contact with whoever is the appropriate person to let them know that there's a concern going on in the neighborhood. Maybe it's a code violation. We've also had one time where someone there was a stoplight that the crosswalk did not last long enough for some of the seniors to get across the street to get to the convenience store. Well, that might not be something that you'd normally tell the Commonwealth Attorney's Office about, but they didn't know who to tell, and they had told some people in the past, and I didn't know who to talk to either. But I do know that I can search and find the right person and talk to who needs to be done, and it was addressed, and the timer was changed so that people could get across the street. So that would be considered something like a public safety concern.
Okay, good, and that's really well put, because I think most people can relate to that, and it is a question that you really aren't sure, who in the world would I contact? So you can call the Community Collaboration Center and ask about some of these things, and they will direct you. They're not necessarily ones who resolve all the issues, but they are able to network. They are part of a network, and they know who to contact. So it's good to know. I'll be calling you a lot. Awesome. And so the Collaboration Center, it clearly had some needs that it's addressing needs that weren't met or that you recognized. What were some of those things that people felt that they were missing, that they're getting taken care of?
I think that for the most part, a lot of people just don't know where. There are a ton of resources in Hampton Roads, and there are a ton of resources in the city of Norfolk for people to access. Everyone just doesn't always know where to go to get to those resources.
Right.
And so what we tried to do was add an additional place where people could call, and we don't turn anyone away. If you call because you need to send a letter to DMV but you can't type it, we'll help you type it. It doesn't matter what you need. And if we don't know where to find the resources for whatever, if we've had people who needed help with burial services, people who need help with all kinds of things, and we try to make sure that they don't walk away with us just giving them a number to someone. We want to make sure that we help them to try to solve what it is, and we follow up to make sure that they were able to solve what their issue was.
Okay, and I guess the fringe benefit, particularly in the Commonwealth Attorney's perspective, is this really improves relations and amongst everybody. People become a little more comfortable and familiar with the whole idea.
Absolutely.
And even if there are prosecutors there and they do deal with, you know, the criminal justice system, that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
It strengthens and builds trust.
Yes. And that's a good thing. So being able to do that in an active way and getting the community involved certainly makes a difference. So have you seen the benefits?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that when we first started, when we go to every type of community day or event or resource fair that we can go to, because part of the problem is being able to get your name out. You can't advertise for this.
Right.
And so being able to let people know that this resource is out there. And so when we first started going out places, people would say, what's the Commonwealth Attorney's Office doing here? And quite frankly, some people think, oh, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office is the bad guy because, you know, we prosecute people. We're really not the bad guy, and we're trying to build relationships to let people in the community know that that's not really our role. Our role is to try to help you.
Okay.
And so when we first started, we might get some people who came up and said, what are they doing here? And then we talk to people and let them know what we're trying to provide to them and let them know that we're there for them, and we have. Now when we see people, there's a lot better relationships that are being built.
Well, good, and hopefully just doing this will help build on that too. So it's just one more way of letting the public know that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the Community Collaboration Center is there for you. So don't forget it, and call them if you need anything.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right. Thanks so much for taking the time
to
share this information.
Absolutely.
It was great to see both of you.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
We'll return in a moment with details about a free day at the zoo for disabled citizens and their caregivers.